early top 10. Screenshot it, screen record it, do what you got to do. This is it. This is my way too early top 10. I caught a lot of flack for my way too early top 10 last year, and I'm not scared to take the bullets this year. Let's get into it. North Carolina Central is my number one. If North Carolina Central isn't number one after what they did last year, I don't know what else they got to do. I'm not sure if there's anything else they can do. You win the HBCU National Championship. You beat Coach Prime and the superstar, Monstar Jackson State team that you face in the Celebration Bowl. You beat them on national TV. You put North Carolina Central's name on the map. Not only do you do that, the next season you return the best quarterback in HBCU football, Davius Richard. What some have called the best dual threat quarterback in the nation. They are number one by a far margin. I think North Carolina Central can go back-to-back Celebration Bowls. I think so. It's yet to be seen, though. So one team that is vying for their first Celebration Bowl is Florida A&M. Florida A&M returns a plethora of guys. They have a running back room that goes 10 deep, according to Coach Willie Simmons. And they have a wide receiver room that gets deeper by the week, as I talked about the transfer portal. Just add a guy like Marcus Riley, who I think will fill the shoes of Xavier Smith. Bring back K-Dot, bring back Manigo, a slew of other guys on offense, including your quarterback, who I think is the best quarterback in the SWAC, Jeremy Musa. I think Florida A&M has a great chance to be one of the best teams in HBCU football because, for one, the boogeyman is gone. Jackson State, call it what you want it. And maybe you want to diss them, but that was the boogeyman. Coach Prime was the boogeyman. That was the only team that FAMU has lost to while they have been in the SWAC. Not only that, FAMU has only scored 9 points against Jackson State in 2 years. But now Coach Prime has left. There's a new regime. Coach T.C. Taylor is now there. I think Florida A&M looks at this like they got a real chance now, and they can take the crowns of the SWAC. Now, number 3 is Tennessee State. Last year, what I saw from Tennessee State was an underachieving team. I think that was the bottom floor for Tennessee State. I don't think Draylon Ellis will ever throw for less than 9 touchdowns ever again. I think everything changes. I think Coach Eddie George finally puts his team on the right page. The defense that's coached by Brandon Fisher is absolutely stout. You bring in newcomers like Jalen Bill on the defensive line. You bring Monroe Beard as a linebacker to pair with Kevon Pope. Your back end looks great with cornerbacks Deshaun Watkins, Bryce Phillips, who's just on my top 5 list. This team is pretty complete defensively. And offensively, I think they still had more room to grow from last year. This is going to be a new-look offense. You lose your running back, Devon Starling. You lose a couple receivers. You lose J.J. Holloway, a big receiver from Georgia that they had played a very pivotal role last year. But I think a lot of these offensive players were underused last year, just given the fact that quarterback Draylon Ellis was injured for most of the season after the Jackson State game. It's a little hard to play with your toys when your quarterback isn't in there. I think Draylon Ellis gets a full shot at this season, fully healthy, and returns back into form that he once had in his freshman year, winning freshman of the year. So now we got Howard at number 4. The Co-MEAC champions of 2022, you have to give them the respect of the top 5 in 2023, right? So Howard, they returned one of the top 10 quarterbacks in HBCU football, your boy Quentin Williams. I am not all the way sold on Quentin Williams, but with most of this team returning, with the retired coaching staff returning, Coach Larry Scott, I think that this Howard University team is primed to have a good season and to even go on a run. If they don't, they don't. But I think they can. I think Howard and what they have offensively between Eden James, Jared Hunter, Casey Hawthorne, list goes on and on. You have the right weapons. If everybody executes, I don't see a reason why Howard can't be a very decisive team this year. I think that they honestly could put a lot of teams away in the MEAC. I think in the MEAC, there is a big gap after Morgan State, quite honestly. I think you go North Carolina Central, Howard, Morgan State, then there's a gap between Delaware State and South Carolina State. I just do not think they're up to par this year. So, getting back into the SWAC, though, Alcorn State stands at number 5. At number 5, Alcorn State, you may go, well, why is Alcorn State there? Well, they returned some dogs. You bring back the best running back in HBCU football, Jarvian Howard, a guy that even some scouts have said they probably going to see him at the NFL Combine at the end of the season. With him and Tyler Macon, a 4-star quarterback who's looked great during the spring, by the way, I think they prove as one of the most deadliest tandems in the SWAC this year. I think what we're going to see out of Alcorn State is a high-powered offense. What we've been looking for a couple of years now since the absence of Felix Harper. Now, number 6, this is a less flashy offense, but Prairie View A&M has a very dominant run offense. They add a 1,000-yard rusher in Caleb Johnson this year, so I think that Prairie View A&M is primed to really be in competition to win the SWAC as they were last year. And number 7, we got Jackson State. I think we need to be realistic about what we think Jackson State can be this year. Let me remind you, this is a team that is losing around 45 players from the SWAC championship team of last year. That's also a Celebration Bowl team of last year. So this program and this team is completely new. On offense, there are only a couple names you're going to remember from last year. Guys like J.D. Martin, maybe a tight end or a couple linemen. For the most part, this is a new-look team, and we do not know what Jackson State is going to be in the fall. Practice or not, when the bullets start flying, we're going to learn what Jason Brown is. We haven't seen Jason Brown get sacked yet. I think that Jackson State does have upside, definitely. I think defensively, they have one of the best defensive backcourts in HBCU football, without a doubt. I think that it's going to take a couple of games for Jackson State to bring all of this together. The first game against South Carolina State could work as a tune-up game because I don't think South Carolina State is ready either. I think South Carolina State is miles away from Celebration Bowl. Needless to say, I think Jackson State may have a tough time in the SWAC. The SWAC is continuing to get better. As Jackson State continues to bring in these great recruits, you just got to wonder how all of it will mesh together. Number 8, we got Morgan State. Coach Damon Wilson and what he's done at Morgan State, I just can't wait for it all to come into fruition. I've seen what happened at Bowie State. I've seen the 3-time CIAA championships. I've seen that. And I am confident he can bring that to Morgan State. The biggest question, though, is who's going to be the quarterback of Morgan State? Are you going to return quarterback Carson Baker? Will he really make the difference needed to win a MEAC championship? Or do you go with the new guy, transfer quarterback Tosh Smith? Can he make the difference to get this Morgan State team over the hump? That's the question. Now, at 9, we have Southern. While I do think Southern is one of the most talented offensive programs in HBCU land, I think defensively they have left a lot to be desired. You lose a big guy on your back end with Corian Harris, and your complete front end is uprooted and taken out, and it's like you got a nice house. The house is crazy nice, but the curb appeal is to be desired. All the grass is torn up. The drive-through is uneven. The carport has a leak in it. And that's what I see with Southern. Offensively, you look good. You got a plethora of quarterbacks. You have your pick of the litter at quarterback. At running back, you have your pick of the litter. They go about 6 deep at running back. And at wide receiver, you return almost all of your wide receivers, and you add another receiver from Prairie View A&M. But defensively, your D-line. Who's on the D-line? Is anybody left? You lose Cam Peterson off the D-line. You lose Jason Dumas off the D-line. You lose Jason Greathouse off the D-line. You lose Jordan Howard off the D-line. You lose Trey Lannick off the D-line. In 1 year, you lose all of these players. It's hard to expect Southern to be go back to the SWAC championship when I'm not even sure about their defensive line. When it comes to football, everybody knows how important a defensive line is in stopping the run and in setting setting the line of scrimmage. If you can't set the line of scrimmage, a team will literally bully you all the way down the field. We've seen it sometimes with Texas Southern and running that 3-3-5 defense. So with Southern, my biggest question is who's coming in on defense to fulfill the needs of tackling and pressure and setting the edge. And I got too many questions to put you guys in the top 5. So top 10, yeah, okay. We're going on the offense. Maybe defense will be all right, but you're at 9 because of your defensive line and how I'm unsure I am of that. You're at 9 because of your defense in total. I am unsure about the defense. So then at 10, we got Alabama A&M. I think this is the first year that Coach Connell Maynor doesn't have any expectations on him. Since Akil Glass is gone and last year's very underwhelming year, I think that Coach Connell Maynor doesn't have any expectations at all, which I think actually works in Alabama A&M's favor. I think they have a pretty decent team, and they have a team that I think is probably a year away from SWAC contention. Now, you do bring back running back Donovan Eaglin. You do have a couple quarterbacks back there that can sling the thing around, Quincy Casey, Corey Rankin. You have a couple guys, right? ATG is pretty good also. But who's going to put together for you at quarterback? Who's going to win you these games at quarterback? We saw a dual quarterback system last year. That did not work out. We went down in flames, Alabama A&M. Things did not go according to plan. So in 2023, are we going with one quarterback, and can that quarterback get us over the hump? I'm not sure if they're – look, I'll go ahead and say it. I think Quincy Casey can get them over the hump. Anybody other than Quincy Casey, I don't think can get Alabama A&M over the hump right now. So that is my top 10 way too early rankings. Give you guys a little bit of analysis with it to understand